As we roll into the new year, many of us hope for a better year and a better path forward. But hope can only get us so far. We have to envision that better future and actively plan and consciously and intentionally walk forward every day to bring that hope and vision into your new reality. We've all had to adjust to a new normal, and I cannot think of a better guest to speak with today. Like my previous guest, Markell is a model of resilience, and her story will inspire you and help you see that you too can overcome some of life's roadblocks, that you can reestablish a sense of your own identity, find your purpose. So join us today as Markell shares her story of survival and how she is using her power and vision to help others. Markell Morris is the founder and owner of Futures in Motion, and she helps clients navigate the job market, whether they are re-entering the job market or aligning their career after facing life-altering circumstances. Her personal experience as a young widow and brain tumor survivor, she is also an expert in navigating a career after loss. She understands the challenges and the dynamics of rebuilding a career and of reestablishing a sense of your own identity and finding your purpose. She has multiple books, but one on how to fast track your career and career transition steps. There's many resources that we're going to dive into a bit further into our discussion. But first, I'd like to welcome Markell. So welcome.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me today.
No, thank you so much for being here. It's my pleasure, and I'm really happy to have you here. So Markell joins me from sunny California. So West Coast, gotta love it. But she and I connected because I saw a little bit about her story. And so I really wanted her to speak to it today and share it with you all as well. So Markell, if you will take us back to your life with your husband, and then kind of what happened as you met, and back it up a little bit because I love the story of how you got together with him, and then take us through the next couple of years and what happened.
Sure. Well, I'm like most people. I had, hopes and dreams when I was a kid. And I remember one day in the playground at the kindergarten, I remember having this vision of what I wanted my life to be. And I was going to be a mom. And I was going to have this huge family. I wanted to have 5 kids. I don't know why, but I was going to have 5 kids, and I was going to stay at home with my kids, and we're going to do all the the suburban things that, you do, soccer practice and swim meets and band. And I was just going to be like that mom, PTA, and I was going to rock it. And I was so excited about that. And, honestly, I don't know where that came from. But that's what I wanted. And I didn't have any career goals, ironically. I thought maybe I might be interested in being a psychologist or a business owner, and I never really went farther than that. So I remember also when I was a kid, I met this other kid. My dad was a coach for Little League, and he was coaching this team in the community. And this kid was always running around, and his name was Mark. He was the brother of the kid that my dad was coaching in Little League, and his mom was the scorekeeper. So I first met Mark when we were about 9 years old. We went to junior high and high school together, and we were just classmates. We had some classes together. We didn't date. It wasn't anything like that. Although, looking back, there might have been, because he gave me a nickname in 9th grade or 10th grade, Markell Sparkle, and that nickname stuck. So to this day, I still have that nickname, and everyone knows it, and it's pretty cute. And so fast forward, we graduated from high school. We went on, with our lives. I went on to college, grad school, got myself established in a career, and was moving right along with that. And then after one of our class reunions, Mark and I reconnected. We had some mutual friends through Facebook, and we reconnected. And at that point, it was, I guess, the perfect time in our lives where it was right for us. And it was a whirlwind. So we started talking at the beginning of that year. It was January. And by April, we were engaged, and by August, we were married. So we didn't waste any time. We're like, we're old, we don't have time, because we got married much later than both of us expected to, especially if I wanted to have 5 kids, So it was great. We were getting ourselves established as a married couple, enjoying, that honeymoon year. It was funny. He was like, how long are we considered newlyweds? And I said, we're newlyweds as long as we want, and so it was great. We had fun. He was a cool guy. He had a great sense of humor, and we just always had fun together. And then 3 weeks before our 1 year anniversary, he unexpectedly passed away. Woke up in the morning, everything was great, and within an hour he was dead. And so, as you can imagine, I was shocked. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that, I had just found this person, and our dreams are finally coming true, and had this vision for our lives together, and we were so excited. And then just like that, it was gone. And I couldn't even really think about much other than getting through those moments. And it was really hard. Really, there aren't any words to really adequately express what it was like. It was just hard, unbelievable, surreal. It was just, I was shattered. I was shattered. It was horrible. And, though you go through the days and eventually you start wanting more than just feeling, really bad all the time. And it's really hard to live with that amount of grief. It does affect a lot of your ability to function and your energy. And so, I had a lot of great friends and support, and people wanted me to feel better. And they encouraged me to do things, that would make me feel better in their well-meaning way. And I wanted to feel better. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And, I was encouraged to do something nice for myself. And me being the practical person that I am, I went to go get new glasses.
Which is so not what I'm sure anybody was thinking when they told you to do something for yourself, which is
right.
perfect. But that tells everybody who's listening a little bit more about you, the type of person you are.
Right. People would say, oh, go take a spa day. I'll go on vacation, to Hawaii or something. Like, I'm going to go get new glasses,
Yeah.
But there are no coincidences.
No, there are no.
So I headed over to Costco and, got my eye exam. And at the end of the exam, anyone who wears glasses, they know they take out the little pad and they write down on the little pad what your next prescription, whatever. She wrote it down and tore it off and gave it to me. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not a prescription for glasses. This is something else. I'm reading it. And so what is this? And she says, yeah, there's something going on. You need to go get this checked out right away. And I said, what do you mean there's something going on? And she's like, oh, it's probably nothing. And I said, well, what could nothing be? And she said, maybe it's an infection or maybe it's a brain tumor. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I feel fine, and she's like, it's probably nothing, but just go get it checked out. And I lost it in her office. I collapsed in her office at the possibility of what it could be. And she's looking at me and I was like, you don't understand what I've just been through. And this, I can't take it. If, I don't know what I'm going to do. She's like, don't worry about it. Just go get it checked out. It's probably nothing. Just be safe. And I said, okay, fine. So I got myself out of there. I had to go to work. So I'm like, how do I go to work with this? And I was able to get in to see an ophthalmologist. I have Kaiser and they wanted me to go see my primary. I'm like, you don't understand what this person just told me. I don't need to go through these hoops. I need to get to a specialist right away. So anyways, they were able to do that. And the ophthalmologist looked in my eyes just like with a flashlight. He's like, yeah, there's definitely something going on. You need an MRI stat. I'm like, what? So a couple of days later, I was finally able to get that MRI, and it was confirmed that I had, they call it a mass, but it was a brain tumor. It was a primary brain tumor that I had. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. When I was sitting there with those doctors, I almost passed out because I couldn't believe that after what I had already experienced less than a year ago, that now I'm facing, my own mortality, that I might actually die as well. And I'm like, why did I have to go through all of that and then die? You know what I mean? But they're like, just, let's relax and get through this. And as you can imagine, Wendy, I felt defeated.
I don't know how you could breathe, actually.
I mean, I held my breath for quite a while. I mean, experiencing the loss of my husband, you're hypersensitive and hyper aware and afraid. And I held my breath for a long time. And then when I was starting to finally exhale, this happened. And then I held my breath. And I finally had my brain surgery, and it took me almost a year to fully recover from that. And I remember I had to take this medication, and I took that very last pill, and I was sat on my couch with my water and the pill, and I took that last pill, and I said, okay, now the healing can happen.
Yeah. And that's a huge milestone.
It was huge.
And a huge crossroads for you too.
Yeah, and you're standing at that crossroads, and you've experienced all of these things, and it's like tumbling. You don't know. I mean, one of my friends described it as being dropped off in the middle of the desert, and you have to figure out your way back home. And the good news is, though, if you can identify where the north is, you can find your way back. So as desolate as a desert may feel, if you can find that one beacon, you can get yourself back. But it felt like a big challenge.
Yeah. And that's where, again, I'm sure there aren't even enough words or adjectives to describe what you came through. But how did you then at that point decide, okay, all that you've just been through and what's next for Markell? So how did you decide at that point? And then because that can be overwhelming too. So how did you take it? Did you take it one little step at a time? Did you envision something? Like, how did you go from there to where you are today? And how long, I guess, did it feel longer to get to the point, or were you just so ready at that stage for the positive? So tell us a little bit more about that next phase.
Sure. And I can share with you that it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that we're wired, and especially in our society, we want these like quick fixes. There's like, I just want to be done with this already, and I want to move on to the next. And it just doesn't work that way. And what I in my journey, what I experienced and what people experience when they have these circumstances or face these circumstances is that, it affects every aspect of your life. Mind, body, spirit, your finances, your relationships. It affects, and even me physically. I mean, it affects everything. And so your approach to rebuilding has to touch on all of those factors. It's a hard process. It's hard to create order in chaos. It's hard to move forward when you don't even know who you are anymore. I went through so many different identities, even in that short amount of time with Mark, and the prospective identities, those identities that I was looking forward to. And, I find myself in this devastation in my life, and I'm standing here in the rubble, and I'm like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I've shared this before. I changed my name. And if any of you know about changing your name when you're out of your 20s, and you've established credit, and you have a mortgage, and you have all of these things, it was don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You can have your forward-facing name. People can call you whatever they want, but keep your government name. So, but really and truly, I didn't even know what my name was anymore. And I'm like, I just want to be Markell. I took my husband's name, and when I went to the bank, I couldn't even get my money out of the bank because I'm like, I couldn't have all my documents lined up with the right name, and I was locked out of my account. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
God.
literally don't know my name. So, but anyway, I felt like, you can think about these things, and as you know, and I've shared with you, I'm kind of a planner, and while I did a lot of things, and what I did that really helped me is I have this motto in my family. We have this motto: faith, family, friends.
Mhm.
Take care of your family, and invest in your faith, take care of your family, invest in your friends, and everything's going to work out. And that was true for me. But in addition to that, I did the journaling. We talk about these things: do the journaling, I did the meditation, I was in every Bible study, I listened to music, I created affirmations, I did listen to the TED Talks, Oprah Super Soul Sunday, I read all the books, I did all of that, searching for answers, searching for explanations, searching for a way forward, just some comfort, some peace, some guidance, some wisdom. And I did all of those things to help me feel better. And then you do feel better, and you start to feel stronger.
And you talked also about strength and the definition of strength versus resilience. So share your perspective on, again, because you've tested some of these labels and adjectives much more than many people have. So what in your mind is the difference there when, again, people tell you to be strong, or you are strong, right? So how does that come across to you?
Well, honestly, for me, and I do grief support, so I facilitate support groups for people who have experienced loss, and I'm involved in the widow community, and that's one of the adjectives or labels that people often put on us, is that we're strong. And honestly, it's a burden. Especially in the beginning stages, it feels like quite a burden because we don't feel strong. We don't we feel broken. We are broken. People may see that we get up every day and we're going through, our lives, but we don't have a choice, to do that. And so as I've, gotten on the other side of this, it's fine. I am strong, but more than being a strong person, I'm resilient. And for me, that just sits better. For me, strength is being able to stand firm in adversity. And I did that. And people who have experienced loss or life altering challenges, they are strong and they do stand firm in adversity. But even more so than that, the resilience is bouncing back after we've been broken, because really and truly losing your spouse breaks you. It breaks you. And experiencing a brain tumor on that, it's like you're never going to pull those pieces back together. So to be able to take the fragments, whatever you can find, and piece those together into a meaningful life is resilience more than strength.
And I think a lot of people have not experienced resilience in their own life, and maybe in 2020 with all the changes we've had, maybe it's tapped some people's inner strengths, and they've had to find if they are more resilient than they even knew. But I also think, from my personal experience, and I didn't go through anything as significant as you did, but between my experience and the experience of others who went through their own roadblock or life challenge, I think another word for me that resonates is patience. And I think that goes with your faith as well. But for me, when I have that moment of feeling like you're in the desert and you don't know which way to go, having patience with how you go forward with in your journey, I had to get comfortable with being patient. So was that something that you had to go through as well? Because like you said, you can't just have it happen overnight, right? You just don't wave your little magic wand and go, oh, everything's perfect, right?
Wendy, gosh, you hit it. Patience is probably the most important part of this journey, because things don't happen overnight and there's so much unknown in this. And what I had to come to learn was that it's okay not to know what to do next.
Yeah.
And to be comfortable sitting in that ambiguity is probably the best lesson a person can learn in life. I learned it the very hard way, but I learned it nonetheless. And so I'm happy about that. And in my rebuilding journey, I mentioned that, you get to this place, it's almost like being in battle. And then you get to this place after the battle is over where you're just kind of there. And you need that respite just to rest and not even think about future, just go through the motions, and you need to do that. But again, you get to a place where you want more than that. And I remember, making attempts to rebuild, and I've had my business for a long time. And I thought, okay, I'll start doing this again, but my heart wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it, even though it was good and it was meaningful. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. And I wasn't excited about it. And I really decided, I actually had decided that I was just going to let it fade away. I was going to let my business just fade away. I was going to, get a part-time job, and I was just going to do that job until I retired. I didn't want more than that. I didn't want any more excitement in my life. I just wanted normal. I didn't want anything else. I'm like, I don't need to be happy. I don't need to be happy. I just need to pay my bills. And, I want this black cloud to go away. And it was really funny because, I mentioned my faith, and, I'm very, devout in my faith, and it's been a part of my life, and it's part of who I am. And one day, one of my best friends, she contacted me. She's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I don't have a husband. I don't have any kids, I'm just like, it's Sunday and it's not football season, so I don't have anything going on right now. Anyway, so I said, yeah, let's go have lunch. And we ended up spending the entire day together. And that was a turning point for me. And it was a divine encounter. And I'm so thankful for it. And, I've shared this with her because it was it was exactly what I needed. And she didn't contact me to encourage me. We were just friends hanging out. She knew my husband as well. We also had gone to junior high and high school together. So we were just hanging out, and in that she shared with me that this long-term goal that she had was finally coming together. And I mean, she had this goal for, 20 years, and she'd been steadily, patiently, working towards this goal. And then when the time was right, everything just came together, and she was so excited. And I was so excited for her. And I was like, I want that again. I wanted to be excited about something again. And I asked myself, what would that be for me? And interestingly, in that moment, fully formed vision, vivid, came to me. And it wasn't just because I asked myself that question that time. It was because I had been asking myself that question for years.
Yeah.
I had been tuning into the things that caught my attention, and I'd been writing about it, and I'd been praying about it, and I'd been, really meditating on what that would be for me. And then finally, the spark hit, and it finally came together, and I was so excited about it, and I haven't looked back since then. And this was about 3 going on 4 years now, and I've never been so energized in my life.
And so you said it quickly, and I want to make sure I bring this more to attention about how it was exactly what you needed at the time. And you and I had already connected that, yes, things happen for a reason, and people come into your life at different times and bring you different blessings. But it sounded like, again, not getting too deep, but she was somebody who was very much a spiritual guide or angel for you at that moment, just like the woman at Costco with your eyeglasses. And it's amazing to me how these people show up at, again, these unique times in your world. You didn't know when you went to just have lunch, right? And then look how this path unwinds from there.
And yes, I mean, there's been so many people and so many encounters on this journey, and you recognize it when you tune in. Mm-hmm. And this particular friend of mine, she played a really interesting role in all of my life, my recent life moving forward. And interestingly, part of my vision was to do transformational destination-based retreats, because I love travel in beautiful locations. And I love bringing people together and doing, fun vision boards and, that kind of thing. And, the old me, I might not have done it because it was a huge vision, but I had done the inner work of rebuilding. And I learned that I didn't have to do it all at once. I just had to start taking action. And as I started taking action, the path would unfold. And one of the things that I decided to do was to do a retreat. And, the destination was going to be with a beach view, even if it couldn't be at the beach, because I didn't want to overwhelm myself. I'm like, let's just do this. And she had an office by the beach. And I said, hey, can I use your conference room for my retreat? She's like, yeah, sure. So I came down to check it out. And my husband had surprised me with a harbor cruise for my birthday. And her office is the parking lot that we use to go on that harbor cruise. And I'm like, really?
Yep.
So I was like, wow, okay, I'm heading in the right direction. I'm heading in the right direction. And I did this retreat and I was like, I'm just gonna offer it. And if it ends up just being me and one person, then that's great. And I did this retreat, I sold it out and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, okay, I'm onto something. And that just gave me, the motivation to keep going. And it was just, even if I stopped there, it would have been enough, but it was the motivation and the encouragement that I needed. I saw the pieces come together, and I'm grateful and thankful that I was able to do that and keep going from there.
Well, and you also mentioned that you're tuning in and you're asking the tough questions. And I think it's so easy, especially as women, that we go through our day-to-day and we just tackled this fire, we put this out, we got to do this, we got to pick up this cleaning, we got to do da, 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 da. And we don't stop and pause and really figure out what is it we really want our life to look like, and then put things in place, right? So vision boards, they're wonderful, and having an idea is wonderful, but you've got to put those action steps so that you're at the place where you are today, where you're just like beaming this energy and joy.
Well, one of my favorite quotes and things that I say, and if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter and you talk to me long enough, I'm going to tell you this, but clarity comes through action.
Oh, I love that. And I don't know that I've heard that exact phrase, but I love it. I love it because it is. And even if you make a mistake, I love one of my other guests, Heather, talked about living curiously and removing all judgment. And it doesn't matter. You just keep taking steps forward, and little by little, that path will keep revealing itself to you.
Well, before I had experienced all these things and I had to rebuild my life, you hear all those things from Tony Robbins and Oprah, and you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have a context for it until you do have a context for it. And then you have a context for it. And, rebuilding your life, or not even rebuilding your life, but living life on your terms takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage, because you have to be able to tune out the noise, because people have expectations for how you're supposed to live your life. You have expectations for how you're supposed to live your life, how it's supposed to be. And, you just do this and the formula, and that's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. And so you have to put some action behind it. And personally, I think, thinking about these things is taking action, giving yourself the space to ask these questions and answer them for yourself is action. But people overlook it because they want to move to the tactics. I'm a career counselor. So a lot of times people, they overlook, they skip right past, the visioning and asking themselves the tough questions. They want to jump right to resumes and interviewing and networking. And they end up frustrated because they don't have a roadmap. Where are you going? And they don't know how to communicate what they're looking for, because they don't really know what it is. Right. And so I think I know this to be true. Oprah says, what do I know to be true? I know this to be true from my personal experience and my professional training, that the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to give yourself the space and the chance to create a life that is meaningful to you on your own terms.
Yeah.
And that informs the work that I do.
Yep. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So let's talk more about that, because you've got a business called Futures in Motion, And I will actually not only put the website up on the screen, but mention it also in the notes. But for anybody who's driving, because I don't want them to stop or try to write anything. But so this will all be listed in the notes, but it's futures-in-motion.com. So talk about how you're using then all of what you've gained and this energy that you have to help others as they're figuring out their next career steps.
Sure. One of the, really exciting things about where I'm at today is I get to help people in their journey in a way that is transformational. So when I approach my work, it's really coming from that mindset. And my goal is to inspire people, to encourage people, and to empower them to have the confidence to go after their goals. And that's infused into everything that I do. And I weave in mindfulness. I'm a big proponent of the reflective writing, affirmations, goal setting, and I encourage my clients to be curious, and not to inhibit themselves from thinking about what's possible. I have a friend who's older and very wise, and I remember having breakfast with her and I'm crying about, gosh, I'm so, afraid to do this. What if it doesn't work out? I don't know if I can handle it. And she says, but what if everything works out just fine? I was like, what?
Because we're so focused on the bad, right? It won't work and no one will come to it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I bring that to my clients too. Like, what if maybe it's not going to work out exactly how you think it's going to work out, but what if it's still good? What if it's really so good or even better, right, than what you can imagine? At least give yourself the chance to imagine it and be curious and be intentional about your exploration and your relationship building. So I bring all of that, and that's to me the foundation of building a satisfying and meaningful career. I coach people to take control of their careers and build the confidence to go after their goals. I mean, no one's going to do it. They have to do the work. I can guide them. They can talk to all the people they want, but they have to take control of their journey. And I help them do that. I give them the tools to be able to do that and the coaching and support to help them move along with their goals. And one of the things that I really love is, and I created, is a career visioning class.
Yep.
And
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted you to speak about this.
Yeah, the career visioning 101. And I call it 101 because, again, people get overwhelmed by thinking about all the steps that they need to take to have this like awesome career. And it's like, you don't have to do everything all at once. You can just take a couple weeks of time and 15 minutes a day to think about these things. And it'll be really eye-opening. I've had people have amazing insights by going through this program. On the 5th day of this 12-day program, they've gotten, an amazing, vision that has crystallized for them that they've been thinking about, and they're starting to get reinforcement. And even, just finishing the program gives people a place to start. So it's Career Visioning 101. And I give people a journal. They get access to a private group where they can, share with other people. I have a group coaching session, and in my upcoming group, it's going to be vision board. So I'm really excited about that. And I have a lot of programs that I've created, but I really love this one. And what in development is a job search focused online class, and it's creating luck in your job search. And again, it's giving people the foundation and the guidance to launch, an effective job search. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, you probably saw I speak, I write, I love writing, which is really kind of funny, but I've written books and I have a ton of articles on my website, and I'm constantly writing. And I do have an assistant, but everything that you see that I post, I write. I have notes on everywhere. I have notes everywhere. I have notes. It's really interesting. But so I do a lot of speaking. I've been doing a lot of interviews, but I speak at conferences and events, and particularly for people who are pivoting in their careers, people who are rebuilding after loss. I'm involved with widowed community, particularly, and I do speaking in those groups as well.
Awesome. Well, and just a reminder again, I've got information on my website, which is destinationu.net. I will have links to Markell's website, her futures-in-motion.com. And you can also find her if you search by her name, which again, I'll have listed, Markell Morris. And, both, I love the fact that you're trying to help people, again, answer some big life questions that are really going to guide how they find joy in their next career path or what they would like to do next. And so as my work has also evolved, and I've got a community of folks who are focused on how we're making the best next chapter. And so it's called Inspiring Your Next. And I'm hoping others check that out as well. But so what is one thing, Markell, that in 2021 you commit to, whether it's a new skill, a place you want to visit, something you want to try? What is something that you would say is next for Markell in 2021?
Well, interestingly, 2020 for me, as well as many other people, kind of, destroyed some of my plans. And one of the things that I really wanted to do, and I actually had booked a trip, was to go to Amsterdam for my birthday, or go to Europe. And Amsterdam was one of the places I was going to visit to see the tulips there. My birthday's in the spring. I love flowers, love tulips, and I was so looking forward to having that experience. And I don't know when I'm going to ever be able to get there, maybe 2023 or later, I don't really know. And I say that to say that in 2021, even though I'm not going to be able to travel to that country and have that experience, I committed myself to coming up with creative ways to still do the things that I enjoy doing and want to do. And what that looks like for me is, I've told anybody who listens that I want to go there and I want to see the tulips and everything. And I got some suggestions for how to still make that happen. The garden that I was going to visit, they're on LinkedIn, they're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, and they have videos and interviews of the garden and the people who work there. And so while I can't go there, the next best thing is I can follow them and see all that, wonderful stuff. So that's one way to still get a kind of taste of it. And then also someone told me that in my state, and probably maybe it's a 3-hour drive north of where I live, I think it is, I can go and visit tulips. So there is actually a tulip garden in California that I can easily get to. And I thought, okay, I can do that. And so while I'm not going to be able to get on a plane and go to Amsterdam, and then we're going to go to Amsterdam and Belgium and Germany, we're going to have that whole experience. I can't go there now, but I can still recreate that experience to the best of my ability here. So that's what I'm going to commit myself to doing, is not allowing circumstances to derail my plans, and to find creative ways to still have fun.
Yeah, I think all that sounds fantastic. And exactly, again, which is why you and I connected today, because you fit exactly in our community, and I welcome you. I'm so excited to have you in our group of people and doers, inspired doers. And I should tell you also, I lived in Dallas for a while, and that their Arboretum in the spring, they have, I think, over 300,000 bulbs every year. And that's a beautiful spot. So you never know, like maybe all of a sudden you're blogging and writing about these different really amazing tulip gardens throughout the US. And maybe that's the next book I get to see from Markell.
That would be really fun.
Well, okay. It's been wonderful having you, Markell, with us today. And again, I really hope that our listeners and our viewers, because we also have the video version of this, obviously, but I hope you guys get a chance to check out her work. It's amazing. And I hope you also get a bit of a glimpse of her spirit, and know that her energy, her insights, and the experiences that she have will really help you advance much more quickly to your professional and personal goals. So check out Markell Morris and Futures in Motion, and check out Inspiring Your Next community. And we will hopefully see you all again soon. So thanks, Markell, again, and have a blessed new year, 2021.
Thank you, Wendy. I wanted to end on inviting people to visit my Instagram account, because I have a picture of me and my husband there, and people get a kick out of seeing us there. It's my most liked picture on Instagram. So you can find it at Futures in Motion on Instagram.
At Futures in Motion on Instagram. I love it. I love it. And actually, I need to then follow you on Instagram because I haven't started that yet. So that was one thing I will commit in my next as well.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Have a great day.
Thanks. And thanks everybody thanks Markell for joining and sharing your amazing story. Thanks for the work you continue to do in helping others. And thanks everybody for tuning in. So thanks everyone.